I'm Reverend Gade Ogunlana. I want to teach one simple principle of becoming richer, and it is this: if you want to be rich, don't spend more than what comes in. Very simple, logically sound. I realize that in life, opportunities do come. They've come my way several. They'll come your way many. When opportunity comes, if the opportunity does not meet knowledge, it will go without leaving down residues of benefits. There is something you need to know about riches. There is something you need to know about getting better financially, and it is this: as long as you keep spending more than what comes in, you are bound to be poor. Many times when you see a big organization or a small one, whether it is a family or personal financial life, as long as what goes out is more than what comes in, one is bound to become poorer. I remember in teaching this small, simple, logical principle on television in some of the television stations in Nigeria. A local woman there, one of the local women, watched the program, and I remember, because of her background, she believed that probably because of some people that are against her, using black power against her, the money disappears in her purse. And coincidentally on the television, I explained that money doesn't disappear. You spent it. She said she laughed and said, this pastor doesn't know the power of the witches and the wizards. But she said that she was thinking like that. The next statement I made really made her to look at and watch the program a little closely. Because I just said, excuse me, if you think that money disappears in your purse or in your pocket or whatever, do one experiment. The next 2 weeks, write down every single kobo that you spend. You will see that money doesn't disappear. You probably spent it. She said she took up the challenge and said, I'm going to do what this pastor says. And I will prove that money disappears from my own pocket. Do you know what happened 2 weeks after? She brought a gift for me. Because she said she started writing down every single kobo that she spent. To her amazement, she found out that she spends a lot. You are more a heavy spender than you realize. You just don't know. You are a heavy spender. You just don't realize. Do you know why? We don't lay track. We don't track down the money we spend. That is why, do you want to be rich? Are you interested in being rich? Develop one habit today, and it will double your income. It will increase your status. Write down the money you spend. If you cultivate the habit of writing down the money you are spending, you're on your way to becoming financially free. Many times we do not write down how much we spend, we just keep spending. As long as you keep spending, you will not be able to know whether you are increasing or decreasing. Track down the money that you are spending. That is the first thing. I grew up in a very local area, but I thank God for my heritage. I learned something from my mom. Though she is semi-illiterate, but every night before she sleeps, she used to sell moi. You say, what's moi? He doesn't have English. She used to sell moi, and every night she will sit down and put aside. She will say, this is the amount I used to buy beans, This is the money for firewood. This is the money for matches. This is the money for salt. This is the profit. Every night before she sleeps, I watch her do it. Listen to this. If you don't cultivate such habits, you are not ready for making profit. You need to be taking account of the money spent. You need to learn to cultivate the habit of writing things down. The day you start writing how much you are spending on your business, in your upkeep, the day you start doing that is the day you start to move in the direction of riches. Many times we spend more than what comes in because we don't even know what comes in. Somebody put it in a very bad, annoying way. But what the truth it is. He said, you want to hide something from a black man? Write it in a book. We just don't have the habit of reading. And that is one of our undoing. Do you want to be prosperous? You need to cultivate the habit of reading. More than that, you need to cultivate the habit of writing things down. Write down what you are spending. Write down what comes in. Weigh the two together. As long as you are spending more than what comes in, you are on your road to becoming poor. One of the habits of the rich is that they take account of their spendings. Transfer the same knowledge to your children. Let them cultivate the habit of writing their spendings down. Because that is how to know whether you are getting better or worse. That is how to know whether you are making profit or not. Do you know that this is not only true in our individual lives? What about the life of an organization? What about in the life of a church? As long as a church is spending more than what comes in, even the church will be getting poorer. There are many times we run a budget whereby we are spending more than what comes in as a church. Then you now find out that the account is not balanced. Don't spend more than what comes in. The only way you can do that is to cultivate the habit of writing things down. Write down all that comes in, write down all that goes out, weigh them together. Never spend all the money that comes in. Do you know that this simple principle, a farmer has been practicing it for years. When a farmer harvests the yam, he will put aside some that he will replant again. Why? Because he knows that the last planting season is not the only planting season that will ever be. Number two, he knows that if he should eat every yam that he harvested, there will not be another to plant. If he eats everything this season, next season will be fasting. A farmer knows that. And you should know that also. As long as you spend more than what comes in, you will be getting poorer supernaturally, so to say. So don't spend more than what comes in. Lay track of your money. You see, God wants us to prosper. He said if you are willing and obedient, you will eat the goods of the land. The plan, the purpose, the love, the desire of the act of God is that you and me become financially free, that we become prosperous. But we can't achieve it without developing that habit of not spending more than what comes in. Take charge of your finances. You know, one of the most beautiful things that laying track of your money will do for you is that probably for the first time, you will be in charge of your finances. Once you write down things, you are in charge of your finances. And you should be in charge of your finances. If you really want to make it, if you really want to be prosperous, you should be in charge. The way to be in charge is to mark down, is to write down what comes in and what goes out. Have a monthly budget. As a family, have a monthly budget. Last Saturday of the month, have a family meeting. Write it out. what are the things that the children will need to get for the month. The amount of money you will need, your wife will need to run the home. Have it written out. Provide it. The amount that should go into savings. That's how to be rich. That's how to be free eventually. If you don't develop such a habit, it's difficult to be rich. Train your children that they should start laying track of the money that you give to them. Don't just spend. You know, it can be very amusing sometimes in the nation when you see the federal government bringing out the budget on the 7th month of the year. Then they will bring out how to spend money for the year after the 7th month. Out of 12 months in the year, how will the account balance? No, let's plan the year ahead. Let's plan our spending. You know, God is a God of order. In yesteryears in the land, you see that being spiritual is almost taken as being not organized. You know, one thing we have discovered is that the more organized you are financially, the more you are able to handle the devil. In fact, put this down. The more organized you are financially, the less will the devil be able to destroy you financially. Get organized. The first principle in getting organized is get a jotter and a pen. Learn to sit down before you spend money. Write out how you will spend it. You've collected your monthly salary, write it down how you will spend it. Apportion some for saving, some for investing, some for spending. When you have it written out, that is you're on your way to prosperity. That is the only way you can handle not spending more than what comes in. If you leave it to sudden inspiration, you know, in those days we handle money the same way we handle meetings or preaching. You see, the pastor will come up and say that I was inspired to say that. Then we spend money on inspiration like that. It's inspired to buy that. No, you don't spend money like that. The way to spend money and make profit thereby and be tending towards riches instead of poverty is for you to write out how you will spend, what you will spend. The more you write it out, the more you stick with it, because the more financially prosperous you will be. As long as you spend more than what comes in, it's impossible for you to be richer. Don't forget the simple, logical lesson. It's very simple. Don't spend more than what comes in. The way not to spend more than what comes in is to write down how you are going to spend the money before you start spending it. Learn to spend from budget. Those are habits that the rich have that the poor do not have. Don't spend before you start writing it down. Write it down before you start spending it. That gives direction to money. And listen to this. When you give direction to your money moves faster and farther. Money without direction does not move as fast as it ought to and as far as it should be. I'm Reverend Bade Okolano.